Hello, good evening, and welcome to Henry Weston's Old Mate, the podcast. I am your host, Stuart. It's football talk tonight. Back here with the Man United boys. Before we get into anything, it's a bit of a sad day today. Shane Warne passed away, a suspected heart attack on the island of Koh Samui. Ali, I'm going to come to you just for a few words before we get into the football talk. The man was a legend. We'd just like to pay our respects if possible, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I think so. Shane Warne was a hero of mine. He was possibly the best spin bowler of all time. Live life to the full. Fantastic. Over in England, captained Hampshire. We all enjoyed watching him play his cricket. He played it the right way. Rest in peace. Absolutely. In peace.
Yeah.
Well said, Ali. And for what it's worth, our thoughts go out to Shane's loved ones and everyone in Australia and around the world who will miss him, I'm sure. Let's get the admin out of the way. Anyone who's watching this, if you would be so kind to like the show, rate it, review it, share it around. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video. We have Liam is our guru at getting things around. So if you need any advice there, speak to him. We have got a Buy Me a Coffee website set up. So if anyone wants to support the podcast, just log on to buymeacoffee.com, search Henry Weston's Old Mate. Our content will always be free, but if you want to support the podcast, you can go and donate a $5 there. If you want to, you don't have to, of course. My mum is currently walking all over Deal for cancer. I know cancer touches everyone's life in a bad way, never a good way. My mum is walking 10,000 steps a day. I will post a link to her fundraiser page in the comments. And finally, a bit of a funny one, but it appears, gentlemen, that we've picked up some alternative fans. We've got a Liverpool fan base following us. So, Jay, you'll probably want to join me in a bit of a shout out to Mr. Ian Kinley. He's dropped me a few messages lately. And
it's Ian, is it? Ian's
yeah.
Cool.
So, to all those Liverpool fans who are supporting Man United via this podcast, a huge welcome. The more the merrier. Right, that's all that out of the way. Let's get down to, I'd like to say the happiest stuff, but it hasn't been recently. We've got a run sheet tonight, and Liam suggested that possibly we start by offering up some suggestions on what we, as individuals, feel might be wrong within our wonderful football club. So, Liam, if you could sort of share with us a couple of minutes of your thoughts, we'll then go to Jay and finish off with Ali. Just tell us, we're not on a great run. It's not a great season. We're struggling. We're not getting the results. The depth of talent in that squad should be doing better. Try and explain to us, Liam, why you feel we are underperforming and underachieving.
Well, I think, me personally, I would call it too many cooks, to be honest. There's too many individual players, all the players out there that have got the talent to win us games, and they just don't seem to be able to do it together. Whether it's the way the manager's training them, whether it's the system he's setting up, I don't know, but they just don't seem to be able to gel together. You'll get one player who's had a bad game last week, he'll come back and have a good game the following week, and then the player that was, doing well the week before seems to go backwards. There's no sort of meat in the middle at the moment. It's lack of consistency. That's what it is.
That's a brilliant word, isn't it, Liam? One that we'll probably touch on a lot and have done. That's what wins you league titles, isn't it? And that's what wins you Champions Leagues.
Digging in and winning those games that those games that you should be winning on paper. Digging in and fighting and winning those games is what wins your titles, and we just haven't got the fight to do it at the moment, it looks like.
Right, that's great, mate. I'll move on from you. I'm going to write fight and consistency there. I'm going to come over to Jay. So Liam suggested that the consistency isn't there, Jay. Players are performing for a period of a game or two and then dropping off. I mean, I personally would suggest Luke Shaw's a fantastic example of what Liam's just said there. Anything you'd like to add to that, Jay?
Yeah, there is. I think that's definitely a problem. And like you say, Luke Shaw, I think, has been consistently up and down since we signed it. I think there's two reasons. Spoke about trying to get two reasons each. My first reason we're playing another different style of football under yet another manager.
Yeah.
These, bearing in mind, some of these players have been there since David Moyes, if you include Mata.
Yeah.
Where are we going with it? Because he's an interim manager at that. You know, they look like they're thinking, what's the point? He's going to be gone at the end of the season. And I'm not saying that he's done anything wrong, Ralph. I've actually been quite impressed with him, the way he carries himself. We're making plenty of chances. We're not finishing them off. That ain't his fault. It weren't Solskjaer's fault before. You know, these are players, I think, touch on what Liam was saying. These are players that are kind of too individual. They're just trying to, I mean, Bruno Fernandes, for a, massive example. Where's he gone? Different player. Totally different player. Totally individual now. Trying to score when 5 yards to the right of him.
Yeah.
And then the other problem, I think this has been the problem for a while. It's only my opinion. I think the club have been buying players. I don't think the manager's getting who they are. I mean, Van, classic example.
Yeah.
Who decided to keep Pogba and let him go for free when we were getting offered in the region of 150 million quid? You know, we could have built a total different midfield. We could have got Grealish at the time for 65 million, who I still believe would thrive in a United shirt because he'd be one of the big players in there doing it rather than flitting in and out of the City team, which, as good as that.
Yeah, I mean...
So I think we've been buying the wrong players, for the wrong...
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we've touched on every time we've chatted, really, isn't it? And as you've mentioned previously, Jay, we've bought players, and then if we use Sancho as an example, we've bought a talented winger and sort of played him as a false nine. Is that a term, or a second striker? Early on, and
left again, isn't he? And it's like we bought him as a right winger, and
yeah,
I don't know.
All right, well, we can come back to that, no problem. Ali, so Liam has sort of highlighted that potential lack of fight, players not being consistent. Jay has suggested, it's a different style under a different manager, obviously not finishing chances. That is not uncommon to any team who are struggling, is it? And he's pointed out that Bruno Fernandes seems to be a different player with a different attitude and mentality at the moment. Your thoughts on where it's not quite going as well as we'd all hope, Alex?
Oh, yeah, well, mine's a bit more of a rant over, I mean, I think it's from the top down. That's my big opinion, I think it comes back down to the Glazers,
Yeah.
No ambition. 4th place is acceptable so that they get the Champions League funds. They're just milking United as a cash cow to get the money in. Okay, you could talk about they've spent $1 billion, but on what?
Yeah.
What decision makers have they put in place? They've had Ed Woodward in place. He's a money man. He's not a football man. They get one marquee signing in a year and they sit back and they think, didn't we do well? No, you didn't actually. You're overpaying for players. You overpaid for Maguire, didn't you? You paid 80 million for him. You paid 50 million for Wan-Bissaka. Football decisions from
Crystal Palace are still having wonderful Christmas parties on that.
You're all smiling at that one, but come on, I mean, I think it's been downhill since a couple of years since they came in, really, it's from the top down, and I think it all stems from there, really.
That's well said, and I won't offer much by way of the sort of content on that, guys, because I think you've covered plenty there, and we've got quite a long run sheet to try and get into an hour today. But thank you all for that, and I can tell you all put a lot of thought into that. And Ali, that was a sort of an angle I'd certainly not really considered. I don't tend to. Oh, there's an animal on the screen. I don't tend to.
It had to happen, didn't it? It had to happen.
There was talk. Go on, Ali.
Deep aren't they, Stu? Really,
Yeah.
they're not simple player problems. They go a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, and possibly if we look at a side like Tottenham or possibly Arsenal, obviously the fans get on the back of the players when they're underperforming, quite rightly. But you look at someone like Spurs, and Conte has come in and he's had some wonderful results. He's had some absolute shockers as well. But he's already, or very early in his tenure at Spurs, has been suggesting that he is hampered by the way Daniel Levy runs the football club. He runs it as a profit-making business, and he always will. He's been very open and honest about that. It's not something I personally consider much, but it was great to get your thoughts there, Ali. So, we can go a bit deeper with that in future podcasts potentially. But I know during you mentioned Man United, or they tend to make one marquee signing a year and sit back. So that's going to be our first point, really, because, you don't get much more of a marquee signing, Jay, do you, than Cristiano Ronaldo. We all were overwhelmed and overjoyed by the fact that he was coming back. We thought he'd done the dirty on City. Sir Alex had stepped in and we'd won the battle. But, 3/4 of the way through the season, has he been more of a hindrance than a help, Jay?
I hate to say it, but I think more of a hindrance. I think, there's no doubt in his scoring abilities. Look at him at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And he's still up there in the fantasy football scores and things like that. But fantasy, I think, is exactly what we were trying to achieve, really. I hate to say it. Whether it's him that's affected Bruno or Bruno's just believing his own hype or what, I don't know. But he's a changed man since Ronaldo came in the team.
Agreed, Jay.
Totally changed. And just put the ball away, score goals. And I just fear he's brought this temperament in that Bruno's suddenly got, where he's throwing his arms up in the air, complaining about everything, not concentrating on his game, and he just drifts in and out of games. And now this is a big call, but I think somebody like Fred, give him a go in that position. Up the pitch, he's fine. Just see how we go without him, because we've now lost Van der Beek. But looking at him playing for Everton, he's not strong enough. He's not the player we need in that position.
No, I think that Dutch league where he's shone, and that Dutch system, he's shone next to some very good players, and I believe there's a good player in there still. But perhaps the Premiership seems to be a little bit too much for him physically at the minute.
I wonder, the physicality of it. I don't know. He started off fantastically well.
Yeah,
we do seem to drag players down to our.
So that's. If I come to you next, Liam, I've been watching a few YouTube clips. It doesn't take much to search, Cristiano Ronaldo, and his time at Juventus and his latter years at Real Madrid. He was scoring a hell of a lot of headers from a hell of a lot of crosses that took me back to watching Man United when Gary Neville was sort of overlapping with Beckham, and Beckham was whipping the balls in, and Dwight York, Andy Cole, Teddy Sheringham were banging the goals in. That Cristiano Ronaldo himself in that first spell. Potentially, he's so good that he should score goals and does score goals in any system. But is this system potentially hampering him at the age he is, asking him to do something he might not be capable of now, Liam?
I think that's exactly what the problem is, because a player like him, he can't do anything if he hasn't got the ball, and he's just not getting the service. And we don't seem to be, at the moment, a team that wants to get the ball out wide, and we've got people that can deliver decent crosses, people who can make chances for him. I think that's where we're going wrong. And then we lose him and we lose Bruno, because they're the ones that go out there and they're the ones that try and grab the ball and get the ball and make things happen. And, then we're short up front. So I think if we can get some decent service in there, it'll start racking up the numbers again. But when he hasn't got the service, it's never going to come. So he can make things happen out of nowhere, but he can't do that every game, and he can't do that every time he gets the ball. So I think
plays, isn't it? I mean, he's the best front near post header in the game, really. And we balls all over the place, not to the front.
Yeah, I do wonder if perhaps, watch United, I can't think back to a time where we've sort of tried to get the ball in early. I mean, Bruno, when he's on particularly good form, I mean, Bruno plays those almost those no-look passes, and occasionally, if he finds himself wide, then he will whip that ball in early. And, it's what the defenders don't like. It's, defenders going backwards, forwards, going forward. There's always only going to be one winner there, isn't there? But, Ali, so like Liam's just said, so, the lack of goals naturally leads to a lack of confidence, which with someone like Cristiano, we know how that manifests itself on the pitch. It manifests itself with the arms up in the air, the kicking off the ground. Is that dragging the rest of the squad, or is it dragging the players down who potentially really idolise him, like a Bruno, like some of the younger members of the squad, like a Marcus Rashford? Are they being dragged down by Cristiano's mood and carry on?
I'm honestly feeling a little bit like I used to feel with Ollie. Ollie's a hero of mine, and I was loath to criticise him, but there came a time, and I feel a bit like Ronnie at the moment. He is a hero of mine, and he started off the season fantastic. He's scoring goals, kept us in the Champions League and everything, but now difficult. Now that the goals have dried up, he's not contributing to the team, and like you two, Stu, all the arms up in the air, and the body language, and you just have to see when someone else scores. Have you ever noticed? He's not the first one over to congratulate them, is it?
Yeah.
I've always picked up on that. It is all about him, but I don't know. I don't want to criticise him, but if he's not scoring goals, he's not contributing that much for the team, is he?
No, and I mean, probably not for the last 6 or 7 seasons. I mean, there was, potential. I believe there was a bit of an issue a few years back. Did he have a little spat with Benzema, and then that certainly sort of carried on over onto the pitch, and Benzema was sort of knocking a few goals in, and Ronaldo was literally trotting back to the halfway line on his own while the rest of the team celebrated. I might be wrong about the player there, but it's not un-Cristiano Ronaldo like, is it? I mean, it is all about him. That's what's made him the player he is, to many the greatest that's ever put the shirt on.
I just love to see when the United player scores and the whole team runs to that player and throw themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If someone's fire alarm's going off, we'll be all right. We're going to touch on something now. Let's move on from Ronaldo, and it's something we touch on all the time. I'm going to come to Jay. Let's talk about this defence. Ali said that we overspent on Maguire. We know we overspent on Maguire. He's still not good enough. He scored a header. He scored our first header from we'd gone 500,000 corners without getting a goal, hadn't we? But we got one. And Harry Maguire, I mean, he didn't quite do the San Marino knee slide to the corner flag, or whoever that was against Estonia. Maybe again, my facts might be wrong. Lindelöf's looked all right, Jay, but against some fairly average opposition. We're no further on, are we, Jay? You're probably going to talk about the left back and the right back situation, I think, because you have some good feelings and some good thoughts on that. So just talk us through where's the defence at from when we last spoke, Jay?
Well, I think Lindelof has come on well since he's come back from COVID. Again, like you said, not the greatest, but it's all we can do. We've not been playing well against not the greatest opposition.
Yeah.
But I do think Wan-Bissaka has got to we look beyond him. I personally think Maguire and we've got to look because what we spoke about earlier, the consistency.
Yeah.
There at all. Now I know it's the Euros, which is always a bit of a struggle. Tired. I'm not making excuses for them, but got to the final. They lost the final, but if that's what it does to you, you're not strong enough to be mentally strong enough to be playing for Man United. You know, it comes of it. You win games, you lose big games because you're in big. Or we should be in big games.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've got to look at two very, very good fullbacks. I quite like Telles when he plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
I quite like him. Nothing wrong. He plays a solid game all the time. When we played PSG out there, he played him at that wing back kind of thing. He was excellent. But I think we just got to go number one for two fullbacks. And then I think we need another. I don't know what you think of Rudiger, but I mean, he's a free transfer, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a
player.
I think my personal opinion would be I'd rather see him in the defence ahead of Maguire or Lindelof at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I'd throw them all in the bin if it was me. Nothing against them as individuals. I'm sure they're all nice people, but they are not performing, and I don't think there's a future Man United defender. You know, Lindelof's had his time. Eric Bailly's had his time. Maguire should have settled into a role now. Wan-Bissaka's had enough time. I still feel so gutted that Luke Shaw didn't become the next Roberto Carlos. But let's go to Ali. Anything to add on the defensive situation that me and Jay have?
Well,
I've just thrown them all in the bin. Jay wants Rudiger.
Harry Maguire.
We'll have to get him on. I'll email him.
To be quite honest, you know, just recently, I reckon I turned quicker than him when I was playing for Drum Major Reserves in the Deal Sunday League, and that was 10 years. To be quite honest, I think his lack of pace has been quite embarrassing lately, hasn't it?
Yeah. It
really has been found out.
The no-look tackle.
Oh,
I don't.
you know,
I just don't. I don't. I'd almost be tempted to say there is. I'm struggling to see a way. I mean, Maguire's in the side and he's going to play. He's almost has to play because of the price tag and the lack of quality behind him. But are we at the point, Ali, where we're almost saying he's got to go?
This is the captain of our club.
I know. It's sad to think.
Oh.
That tells a story, doesn't it? But he's the captain of our club.
Yeah. Liam, anything to add on this before we move on to? We're going to come to a positive point after this, but feel free to throw him in the bin like I have if you want, Liam.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I think if you want to talk a positive on the defence, we've got Rafael Varane. We can keep him if we keep him fit. I think he'll any new addition. I think he would partner them well. As long as he stays fit, he's just a bit of a worry with his injuries. He's a bit injury prone, isn't he?
Yeah.
You've got a World Cup winner there, so I mean, I'd be confident with him at the back with someone who can actually do the job. But yeah, as I say, you're right with Maguire. He's had the chances. I just hope that you know this end of the season now he can start proving us wrong before we have to go through all this World Cup business again.
I think the run of fixtures. I'd love to be proved wrong the next time we sit around and chat, guys. But I think this run of fixtures is really probably going to highlight if Maguire has got it in him. Let's hope him and whoever is selected alongside him. You know, I'm not expecting huge results from the fixtures we've got coming up, but you know, if we can avoid the 4s, the 5s, and the 6s that this sort of run of fixtures brought earlier on in the season.
I'm not sure he's picked those, Stu.
Sorry?
I'm not sure he's going to be picked at the moment, Stu.
No.
Well, he was dropped last game, wasn't he?
Of course he was. Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's move on because we're hitting 25 minutes and we're getting through the content. Something I like to mention: I am an ex-goalkeeper. I'm wearing a Fabian Barthez special or Tim Howard special here, I think it was, a few years ago. I want to just touch on David De Gea. You know, he's been our shining light alongside a young man we're going to mention in a minute. Scott McTominay has been another shining light, and Jay has already touched on Fred, who has looked a lot more positive. But De Gea, he's 31, Ali. Potentially, he's got a lot of good years in him. I've written here that, you know, Gianluca Buffon or Gianluigi Buffon signed a contract until he's 46. Back at Parma, he is now. I don't know if that's a mixed coaching role or not.
That's yet, Stu.
Sorry?
Don't forget.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm trying to say is potentially De Gea has got his best years almost in front of him, Ali. He's been a positive. It hasn't filtered through to the rest of the side, but you know, we've potentially got the best goalkeeper in the world at the club at the minute.
Totally agree, Stu. You know, what is he? 31.
He's 31, coming up 32.
I think he's at his peak now. You know, as goalkeepers go. You know, it's not as if his reflexes have gone, is it? Or
no, not based on this season.
I think he's fantastic this year. You know, and I think our biggest problem is that Henderson is not going to play second fiddle to him, is he? Because he's a very good keeper. That's the problem. You can't keep them both. But in terms of David, you know, fantastic. Keep going to what he's doing. Yeah.
Let's go to Jay and touch on what Ali's just mentioned. It's something we've got written in our notes in front of us. It's a massive positive, Jay, and he's responsible for a lot of points gained or not dropped this season. But it does make you wonder that last year, when De Gea was sort of having his wobbles sort of towards the end of the previous season, and certainly last year was not a good season for him. Henderson was maybe even had the number 1 jersey for a period, and he was looking towards holding that jersey for the national side as well, potentially.
COVID's not done him any favours at all, is it?
Yeah. So he's probably, I mean, I would imagine, I haven't seen anything in the press, but I would imagine he'll be knocking at the manager's door this summer, won't he?
Yeah. I mean, I've got to be honest, I was the first person, as you know, we spoke about it on the podcast before. I thought he was finished after that penalty miss against Villarreal.
Yeah. Same. Exactly the same.
He was nowhere near any of the penalties. He'd had a bad season by his standards, and I thought he was finished. And I'm glad to say that, you know, I'll eat my words. He's been the best player, bar none. On Sky the other day, it was like the most safe of the season. He's first. And, you know, he shouldn't be anywhere near first, but that shows how bad what we've just been talking about in front of him is.
Yeah.
These times, I mean, you know, we've got serious problems in that team. I actually do think that we need major surgery.
Yeah, I mean, De Gea is topping lists that Man United keepers in the past, although, you know, we had Schmeichel, a great, you know, Van der Sar, a great. We've had some other pretty good goalkeepers over the years, but none of them would have topped the list that De Gea is topping, simply because what was in front of them was so much better, you know. People like Ferdinand and Vidic, even when we weren't playing well, we weren't having teams like Burnley and Watford having double-figure shots against us. All right, they're not all going in, but, you know, you're looking at, I can't remember the fixture we had a few weeks ago, but I think someone had 18 shots, not all on target, but it was a crazy number. Yeah. And when you see De Gea in that top 3 saves made list, and Man United sitting in 4th, you almost wonder, are we overperforming in our league position based on the amount of shots we're conceding?
The statistics you've just given us there will back that up, wouldn't it? I mean, yeah. I'd dread to think where we'd be without him at the moment. But, you know, it is his job. He's doing it absolutely superbly at the moment. Long may that carry on, because he got dealt badly by my opinion as well in the World Cup and the Euros and all that. He's not had a great there. There's time, like you say, he's 31. He can play 34, no problems.
I think the good news as well, Stu, is he's like been quoted, you know, in the press as saying he wants to stay at United for the rest of his life. You know, more people want, you know, with the badge, with the shirt, saying that sort of thing. You know, that's what I want to hear.
because you don't hear it from many others, do you?
No, you don't.
No. Liam, anything you want to add on the De Gea situation, or would you rather move on and talk about a couple of positives? But go for it if you've got something to add, mate.
He's the saviour, really, isn't he? I mean, we'd
Yeah.
be in a lot worse position than we are now if it weren't for him.
Yeah.
So, as you say, those statistics you said, it's just scary that we're topping all these poor performance tables, like most shots against us in a game and longest period without a goal from a corner until that goal against Leeds. You know, all those they're the stats we don't want, and they're the ones that seem to be building up, unfortunately. But I'm hoping with De Gea, it's look at Van der Sar. The best years he had for United were once he went past 30. Towards the tail end of his career, and he went on that record-breaking run where he kept the most clean sheets. So I'm not worried about him. I think he's the one player that you know won't let you down. He's not gonna let you down, is he?
No, and that's and it's good actually. I mean, it will allow us something in future podcasts that if Henderson might stay, he might. I can't imagine he's happy as number 2, but it potentially opens up a very interesting debate about finding a reliable. I mean, Heaton, I don't know, has he played one game? I don't even know if he's played a game this year, but he's obviously, he'd be a good backup, but he's not a number 2, is he? He was brought in as a number 3 with, I believe, a sort of future coaching role in mind. Let's go on to a couple more positives. They're the positives we've mentioned before, on and off. They're Ali's favourite pair, McFred, but they've been wonderful in recent times, Ali.
Sort of, yeah. I'm a huge fan of McTominay. I think he wears the shirt properly at Man United. He's a cute player. He's a leader. He believes in the badge. He gives everything on the pitch, and I think he's been fantastic this year. The way I think of it with him is, if you put him next to a world-class central midfielder like a Declan Rice, I think he could get even better. Honestly, I've been so impressed by him this year. I have said the McFred thing. Fred's been okay in patches, but as a partnership, it's not good enough, is it, for Man United? It's not good enough.
It's not going to win a Premier League.
It's not, no.
No, it's not. We've said that before. We won't go back over that again. But they have been, since we last spoke, I mean, I'll just go through. Since we last spoke, we had the awful defeat to Middlesbrough, who then went on to slay Spurs, so perhaps that wasn't so bad. But we then had the draw with Burnley, the draw with Southampton, a couple of positive results against Brighton and Leeds, 1-1 with Atletico, and then the weekend performance against Watford was potentially Ronaldo hit the post early on. Well, it could have been 4 or 5, but it wasn't. 0-0. So those results, guys, since we last spoke, that says it all.
But, Scott wears the badge properly as it should be worn. I've got to say that. And every game, he leaves it all out there, and every credit to him.
Yeah,
he doesn't stop, does he?
No,
the first kick to the last.
Yeah, Jay, I'm gonna move on from Scott and Fred. I won't call him McFred. Bruno, he scored a few goals.
Yeah,
he is a positive. I still think he's a good player. You've said you'd quite like to see Fred given a go, sort of up top. I don't want to hang around on this point too much, but if you could would you suggest that giving a Bruno a rest, or would you still like to see him on the pitch, or how would you go about this Bruno problem we seem to be having?
I think he's got to play against City.
Yeah.
I think give him a little kind of take him back, put him on in the game, but just give somebody else a go. We've got Jesse there, he can play that role, no problem. A bit of thought, and he broke through the lines and everything. We've got those players we can try, but he's not there every week, and he's good for the way he's played for the last few seasons. But he's gone at the moment from what the guy we saw, the guy we thought we knew.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's what we were talking about earlier or not, I don't know. But I don't want to go over that. But he keeps drifting out to the wing all the time.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing that when he first came. He was in that middle. He had control of the middle. He's putting through balls through the lines. Is he just looking for the one person now? But then if he's doing that, he went through one-on-one the other day, tried to shoot when Ronaldo tried.
Yeah.
Well, he's trying to set him up. He just doesn't seem to be doing what he's doing on a regular basis. Like as you say, he does come out with a bit of brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that,
You know, with Bruno, you can see I've got my Portuguese Mcsauce.
Yeah. I like that.
And he's I love the guy, you know, and he's got a bit of Man United stardust about him, hasn't he? You know.
Yeah.
But since Cristiano came in, don't know, he's not been quite the same player. But I'm not sure that's the reason, but maybe it's not the fact that he's not the focal point of the team anymore.
He doesn't think, does he? Or is it just me? He just doesn't seem happy. He doesn't seem that happy bloke that he was.
No, I think if I'd have said anything at the top of the show when we asked you guys to offer some thoughts, I mean, one thing I potentially would have offered is the squad as a whole. They don't have that. Don't seem to have that cohesion. That what am I doing here? That should be all right. Everyone can still hear me. They don't seem to be. They don't seem a happy bunch of players.
No.
Him being one of the worst because he keeps, like I said, flailing his arms all over the place.
Yeah,
he does. Yeah.
And whatever way, he cost us that goal the other day when it was against Burnley when he got tackled from behind and the bloke didn't touch him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that wasn't a foul, was it?
That on the 18-yard box, is it?
No. Let's go on. Let's say Bruno. Let's hope in sort of 3 or 4 games when we chat again. Let's hope Bruno's been outstanding. Let's hope for that. Now, one person who I think has been outstanding, Anthony Elanga. I'm going to call him the Swedish Giggs because I think the Swedish Messi is already got Zlatan Ibrahimovic probably on it, although they're different physical beings. He's been wonderful, Liam. He seems to bring an energy that you'd expect from a young player. Coming off the bench, you'd expect the energy a lot. But, you know, the game or two that he started, he has looked almost like, a young Rashford, a Greenwood from a couple of seasons ago, who just gets on the ball and gets at players and believes he's going to get past them. And if he's wide, he's going to get the ball in the box. And if he's closer to goal, he's going to get a strike on goal. You'd want that from everyone. Is it almost easy coming into a slightly poor United side to shine, or is he the real deal, Liam?
Well, I mean, as soon as he comes on, he offers something different. He offers that little spark. He's like a breath of fresh air when he comes on. He's got that little something extra that needs to be added to the game. It looks like the creativity's there. It's just sort of chiseling off the last few bits of his development, and then I think he's going to turn out to be one of the top players. I hope so. Anyway, he looks deadly in front of goal. I mean, come on and score with your first touch against Atletico Madrid. I mean, there's not much more of a dream start in Europe than that, is there?
No.
But Jay, does it mean
United youngster coming through, isn't he?
Yeah.
Been used to over the years. Even if you go back to the 70s when Koppel and Hill came, exciting young players that have got a passion and hunger. And that's the thing Fergie used to say all the time about the hunger. I think if he looked at all them players in the eyes like he used to say, there ain't many players in that team that have got that hunger. You know,
that's it.
The hair, you got Scott McTominay, you got that young Elanga. Rashford certainly ain't got it.
As a younger coming through as well, you've got to show that to the manager as well. You've got to show them that you've got that determination, that fight, and you want to get in the team. Yeah. You want to take someone's place out of that team.
And that's what McTominay's like every week, week in, week out. No, you know, he'll go for every challenge, every ball. He will foul people. He'll get sent off. But he is.
I think you've all nailed it. You know, with Alanga, he's just a young lad playing football and enjoying himself, isn't he? And you said it, Stu. Rashford was just like that when he first started, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah, I mean,
No,
what I've noticed, Ali, is with Alanga, and again, it might just be the enthusiasm of youth, if you will, but he gets the ball, or he gives the ball, he lays a pass off, and his first movement is forward.
Yep.
You know, obviously certain players within the squad, they'll be instructed not to play that way, but he seems to have a good give and go and the 1-2, and he seems to have a good relationship with most players in that squad, but it just looks very direct. And I know you can't have everyone in the squad playing that way, but I want to see a bit more of that from Sancho, from Rashford when he's on. You know, you don't expect that from a Cavani or a Ronaldo now, and Bruno plays different, and Fred tends to hold. But, you know, those guys are selected to do the running and create the chances. Alanga just looks like he's got something.
But he's in that team because those players you mentioned aren't doing it.
Yeah.
Really, he shouldn't be anywhere near. I mean, left side, we had so many players on that left side piling up. We can't get across that left side at all.
Yeah.
Do you think Jesse Lingard needs another chance as well to try and get himself back in the team?
As I said earlier, I think he's a United boy, isn't he? But he needs a run team to be able to do that, and he's always scored big goals for us. FA Cup finals, you know, big goals. He's always done that for us, and I'd be sorry to see him go to another Premier League team. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, and I would totally agree on that. It amazes me in a sense that he went and performed as well as he did at West Ham, got himself back in the reckoning for the national team, and it seems for whatever reason can't get a gig at a very poor Man United side. Whether that is reflected on his performance on the training field, who knows?
I think it's well documented. He's had some problems with his family and things.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest problem is Bruno.
Right, guys, we are back. We had an interlude. We've just had a 10-minute chat that wasn't recorded. So this is going to won't seem funny to anyone watching it, but I'm going to edit this in. I said, guys, that we're going to finish this by asking you who we want to see managing Man United. Now, we've already chatted about this once, so this will be quite funny. Liam, I'm going to come to you because I went to you first again.
So I've got to be witty all over again.
Yeah, try and be as humorous as you were the last time. Tell me who you'd like to see sitting on that managerial seat at the start of next season.
Well, I mean, I've been prepping my CV in preparation for this end of season, but I don't know if they want me as the actual gaffer in Man United. But no, I'd like to see Ten Hag be the man that takes the reins next season. What he's done at Ajax there, he's built a whole new team there, and he's got that sort of young mentality that he can bring it, and the style of football that we need to be playing. I think he'll bring that with him as well. Having said that, I wouldn't mind seeing Rooney at United in some sort of, you know, coaching or number 2 role, and then maybe one day after everything like he's done for the club, especially like where he's turned down managing Everton, just to stay with Derby and stick through them with what they're going through. I think that shows a lot of character as well. So maybe one day, you know, he might be the manager, but for the moment, I think Ten Hag's the right choice.
Yeah, and we've discussed. I think Rooney should hopefully have a future at Man United somewhere. We've said, I said it in the bit we weren't actually recording. I would love to see Rooney in some role at Man United. I personally only ever see him being a manager for the next few years. We mentioned Roy Keane and how he went off and managed and then sort of dropped down through the ranks with the national side, Republic of Ireland, and Aston Villa. I believe that was under Martin O'Neill, if I'm not wrong. Jay, you've answered this once, but I'm going to ask you to answer it again. Do you agree with Liam, or have you know there were other names? There's Conte. I mentioned Ralph sticking around, or potentially Pochettino. But who are you going to go for in an ideal world? Who would you like to see?
Ranieri.
Ancelotti's been thrown in there this week.
I agree that. No, I think Ten Hag. I mean, the good thing about this is I can remember the names now. Tadic and I forgot the other guy's name, but
Haller's doing well.
Tadic and in my opinion, were very average players, playing very well.
Yeah,
they've mixed into his team ethos and all the rest of it. So we've got a lot of players that are average at the moment, so you might be able to do something with them.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to keep saying it, but we've mentioned it once. He lost De Ligt to Juventus, he sold De Jong to Barcelona, and he sold De Beek to Man United. You know, 3 of the players that got him to that semi-final against Spurs, and had Lucas, the Brazilian wonder kid at the time, not sort of scored that late goal, you know, Ajax would have found themselves in a Champions League final, wouldn't they? Yeah. And then to lose those 3 superstars, really. De Jong has gone on to be wonderful at Barcelona in potentially a struggling side, much like Man United. De Beek's not quite done it, and De Ligt has struggled in Italy, but they certainly performed when they were in those Ajax shirts. Ali, I'll come to you. You've answered it once. Can you answer it again? If you'd be so kind.
Well, I am going to go for the win treble because I agree with the guys on Erik ten Hag. The reason given, he is young, he is ambitious, he plays a really good brand of football, which I think United really need at this time, really. Look what he's done with Ajax. He's had no budget. Imagine he's managing a selling club. Imagine if he comes to a buying club with funds, what he could do. So,
yeah,
hard for me.
Yeah, and I'm split really. I've had a look at this. I agreed with what Jay said. I don't see Conte. I can't see Conte doing it. I can see him potentially being available, as mad as that sounds. Like this thing at Spurs doesn't seem to be quite working out. I had Carrick written down, but I think Carrick's been and gone. Like you could never.
We don't want offshoots, do we, Stu? Come on.
No.
We don't want those offshoots.
No. I want to see. I want to see Ralph move upstairs. So for me, it is between Ten Hag and Pochettino. I don't know the current status of where Pochettino is with regards to how he's fitting in Paris, how happy they are with him, or how happy he is with them. So I'd probably be tempted to go with Ten Hag. And as Liam sort of alluded to, that style of football. I just hope if he comes in, or whoever comes in, the squad are able to play the style that is asked of them. It seems to be that they don't seem to either want to. Jay, is it crazy to suggest that the fitness levels aren't quite there for this, gegenpress that everyone talked about, the old Championship manager special formation that Ranić sort of came up with in Germany a few years back, and it's crazy to suggest that a Man United team aren't fit enough at the moment to play that style?
Right, and if you go back 2 years, I said, on all our stats of performing, we ran the least and everything then. We're far less than these teams are coming to Old Trafford and running further than us.
Yeah.
They're not fit enough. Now, if you look at he's playing this 4-2-2 format, or this format. And then no disrespect to Southampton. Here, supposed talents of the guys we've got, and they can't get on board. I don't know what it's refusal. Can't do it. They're certainly not fit. We're on it 45 minutes or close to an hour on one or two. We're looking up decent and creating lots of chances, then the energy runs out.
Yeah.
And then we lose total control of the game. And this is when you get your Burnley's coming off. Yeah, I mean, 0-0. But, you know,
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap it up there. Let's hope we've sort of re-recorded a half decent chunk. Yeah. I think we lost it at about 50 minutes, and this will be, we're at about 8 minutes here. I'm going to thank you all. Ali, thank you for your time. Liam, Jay,
thank you
so much for joining me. I'll repeat it again. If you want to, if you're enjoying the content, please like the content, like the videos, share the podcast. You can log on to buymeacoffee.com and support the podcast. Anything in the show notes, my mum's walk for cancer will be in there. Anyone wants to contact us, it'll be posted down here, HWOM thepod@gmail.com. You can leave a comment, you can leave a suggestion. If you're a Man United fan, Liverpool fan, even if you're a Man City fan and you want to come on and have a chat, we'd be reasonably welcoming to most of you. Maybe Mr. Kinley will come on and have a chat. But thank you so much for joining me, guys, and we will see you in the future for the next episode.
Good talk, guys.
Nice one, guys.